Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate his candor with it all, and even kind of unpacking all of the different revenue streams that he had, because he had a pretty dope
He had
situation.
a diverse bag. Yeah.
He was running it for 6 years, and so where my mind went initially as just like a knee jerk, I was kind of analyzing some of the logistics of his life, because he had,
Sure.
what it seems like is that the apartment may have been, he almost like it's almost like he needed to go through the process to arrive at where he was now, because what I would have probably advised was where he ended up. Like, how can you really live off of a portion of what the revenue that you're bringing in, so that it's you know way more manageable, so that if something did fall
Right.
from under you, that you have, again, if you have a surplus coming in, because that was something that I had to learn when we first started coming into some money, when we started doing licensing.
Mhm.
We went and we were people who were pretty dialed in with our budget, so we thought, but
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, we were pretty frugal. Like, we were on Dave Ramsey kick and all this kind of stuff. Like,
Oh, it's not okay.
it was strict, you know what I mean? But we laxed up a little bit once we got into real estate, and we bought our first home. And again, we were renting out rooms, and so we weren't paying a mortgage. So that was one thing that we kind of did
Smart.
that helped us out. And then scaffolded to another property and rented that one out, and kind of did the same arrangement in the new house. But where it started to unravel a little bit is when we got a little bit deeper into real estate, and we're doing our first renovation, and then we're doing our second renovation, and we're paying for all of this stuff like cash,
Yeah.
and we put like, I mean, probably 100 grand just like cash into these renovations, which I
Yeah.
would probably never do again.
Yeah.
Not because it's like, if you got it, you got it. But I think I might have leveraged our capital a little differently during that time, because we could have kept our the cash that we had to then leverage other people's money, and then and also we probably might have made some different decisions. But either way, it's a little double-edged sword. I do like that we
Right.
don't have to pay anybody from the loans we took out to do the renovations, but
Facts. Yes.
so that is one benefit of it, which I appreciated. But it also put us at a really financially insecure place. Even when we were bringing in good money, I had like probably the highest grossing year that I ever had, and I was immensely stressed out because we were feeling paycheck to paycheck, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the only source of income, and my wife is in another state, and we're paying for her her apartment up there, and then we got another house that's not making revenue, and we're floating that mortgage, and we got just expenses going out for repairs and all this
Yeah. It's
other
a lot.
stuff. So it just put us at a place where I'm just like, dog, I would have did this. So all that to say, I kind of like, we almost needed that process to get a better awareness. You don't know what you don't know until you're faced
Yeah.
with
You
it.
you do it.
But I would have probably advised that where he arrived at is like, hey, how do we really dial in our budget to this, like, say like, yo, what can we really afford in this time? Like, let's really dial up our, and I don't know, he might have done this, I mean, I'm just
For sure.
speculating, but having a good buffer of savings, because if you're bringing in the type of money he was talking about bringing in, and this is
You
why
can
I
put it.
highly recommend, I highly recommend this book called Profit First, because it as a business owner, and even as like an entrepreneur and stuff like that, there's not, I mean, there probably are more resources about it now, but it doesn't seem like it's a common thing to teach you how to manage your, like, let alone how to manage your household budget, but how to manage a business budget.
Right.
That is another thing I
A
think I
different
want to talk
piece.
about
Yeah.
is, and I had no real, because it's just me, what I mean? Like, we don't
Yeah.
have, I have team members, but we don't have any full-time like W-2 employees. Like, everybody's contract,
Right.
what I mean? But even
Yeah.
still within that, I have some recurring team members. But it's like, how do you allocate all of this new money that you're getting into the proper places where you're saving for taxes, in a healthy way, where you're saving
Yeah.
for we're actually not even just saving for tax, but you're actually saving for your profit. You know what I mean? Like what
Right.
profit you get as a owner or operator of your business. Like what is that profit that you can pull from? What, how do you save for taxes? How do you save for operating expenses? How do you save for or how do you know how much even to put aside for all of those different buckets?
Yeah.
So that's one thing, but just being able to have that time to kind of like understand what can we truly live off of, to be comfortable and content, and then keep scaling and scaffolding our income where maybe a $2,900 doesn't feel like a $2,900
Yeah.
because we have enough things. And he made some, maybe I'm curious your thoughts about this. He said the illusion of stability. What do you think about that? I thought that was interesting. I have thoughts about that, but
I think the illusion of stability is, I think, especially as an entrepreneur, there's this idea that you're gonna always be at a place, like I had mentioned before, where things are gonna go the way you had planned them to. And I think it's important to know that everything is not going to flow the way you plan it. I mean, the best thing
yeah,
that you can do is to, and I tell my wife this all the time, like life is kind of like a boat, and problems are like the holes in the boat. You know what I'm saying? You can't ignore them because then you'll sink. But to anticipate every hole that's going to pop up, you're not going to know. You have to be able to
yeah,
adjust and pivot to then keep the ship going. And I think as an entrepreneur, you are in a unique space, and as a new indie artist, because you don't have, and I think you could probably speak to this, where you don't have a paycheck that comes every 2 weeks. And this might be a whole nother conversation
I
where, well,
actually do.
you're
I actually
different.
do.
You're different. You're different.
But go
You're
ahead.
different.
We'll
You're
talk about it.
different.
But go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, I don't have a paycheck that comes every 2 weeks. I have to plan appropriately as bills come on. Does that add additional stress? Yes.
Yeah,
Because there are times where I'm like, dang, I need this check to come now, but the company's like, well, it's coming on the 15th.
for
I need it
sure.
on the
Yeah,
8th. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? You run into those things, and I think you just have to learn how to maneuver um, and think ahead as an entrepreneur, and that is just having self-awareness as an entrepreneur, what your life looks like,
yeah,
to then make that. And if that does not work for you, then you have to find a system that does work. And you
yeah.
have to find a way to, okay, every time you get paid, this is the money that goes here. No matter what, you don't touch it, because when this happens, I can cover it.
Yeah, 1,000%. Like it's interesting to me because he said the illusion of stability, which is
Mhm.
it's real. Not and I don't think that you can't have stability. Like, and
Right.
there's people in this world where money is not a issue. You know what I
An
mean? Like
issue
it's
for them,
just
for
not
sure.
like there is that reality that is possible for you. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't ever want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
limit
Yeah.
anybody. Like there is a way to get to a place where maybe that is not the problem that's most
Sure. 100%.
prevalent in your situation. Maybe it's other things,
Yeah.
but I do think on the other side, it's kind of that nothing's ever promised. You know what I mean? Like stuff
Yeah.
could happen, God forbid, and I think that's more of maybe what he was saying. But yeah, but I know also that's the desire. I think of just people culturally, but also more
Yeah.
so for people in a creative industry like we are
Mhm.
trying to monetize in a predictable way, like they may be
Yeah.
used to, with a 9 to 5. And what you were talking
Right.
about, how you saying like every 2 weeks, I actually pay myself once a month, but
Mhm.
I do have I'm actually, I lied earlier. I'm the only employee of my business because we set ourselves up
Smart.
as an S corp, and so I have
Yes.
payroll that we run, but I'm the only actual employee of the business. So,
Mhm.
and because of tax and all this, I have to pay myself out a regular salary.
Yes.
But there's also distributions that I take, and that's the profits. I wish it's a whole nother thing, and that's why I say that Profit First, book is really dope because it helps you
Yeah.
understand. I feel like a lot of like early entrepreneurs and startups and like they forego kind of like paying themselves out from the business in order to
Mhm.
grow the business, which is kind of understandable early on because you want to,
Sure.
the mindset is like run lean, like let's front load everything to getting this thing off the ground. And when it starts to produce whatever that revenue number is, I'll start pulling more of what I feel like I'm owed and what.
Yeah.
But the problem is that most people never really get there, and that's kind of what the
Right.
book is arguing. Is like we never get to that place of, hey, I'm paying myself what I feel like I'm actually worth, and you actually should be paying yourself the most out of anybody on your team because
Yes.
like you should be the most valuable in the company because it's your company.
100%.
Without it, it wouldn't exist. And
It shouldn't flow. Right.
yeah, but that's where the distribution side comes in. This whole like setting aside a portion of the revenue that's coming in as profit because it's building in that future habit of you got to start paying yourself from the business from day one because that's essentially what it's built for. Or one of the
Yeah.
things it's built to fund your livelihood and to feed your family, all that kind of stuff. And if you
Yeah.
aren't actually taking the time to set it up like that, and that's why I love the banking software that we have called Mercury. I think I might have talked about it last time. It just auto allocates based off of certain percentages, so it's like kind of automatically happens. So I'm forcing myself to save for different areas of the business,
Beautiful.
which I'm actually just doing it. I had this idea, but I'm going to make it make myself accountable to it right now. I'm actually going to put together a budgeting workshop and the framework that I use within my
Yeah.
company and the tools that because it's immensely helpful. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I went from like having almost like I think it was like a $15,000 tax bill one year that I did not have the money
Facts,
for
bro.
at the end of the year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Been there. Yeah.
Two, like now I had like this year we probably had like up to 60 grand just saved for taxes. You know what I mean? That we were ready to pay.
Yeah.
But it was because tools in the bank account like Mercury that really helped
Streamline it.
force those
Yeah.
saving habits and allocate our funds. So it's dope. So I want to put together something like if you look in the show notes, I'll put together a free resource for y'all. Like you just download it and it'll go through the framework that I use to help me,
Yeah.
really prioritize my prioritize our cash flow in the right bucket so that we're not chasing ourselves all the time. And it's a good discipline to start now, even if you're not bringing in, a lot of
Right.
revenue. It sets that foundation. It's stuff that I wish I'd have known earlier. So I'll drop that in. And also, too, I think I was going to shoot this as like an ad later on, but I'm just going to talk about it now since we're in the flow. I'm also going to put a link in the below for Mercury as well, because Mercury is running a thing where if you sign up through, we have it is an affiliate link. So if you sign up, you'll get, I think, $250 cash if you deposit like $10,000 within the first 90 days or something like that. So y'all will get 250, we'll get 250. So if you do, cool, it'll help the show. But even still, I kind of don't even, I'm not pushing it for that reason because it's $250. But at the end of the day, I swear by Mercury. Like it's just changed how, like we use it on our personal side, we use it on the business side. And it's just, I don't really think a lot about how the finances of our business are, being shuffled around. Like it's kind of like we set it up once and it's just on autopilot. So it allows us to focus more on the things that we want to focus on and not the books. You know what I mean? Like, because so that's that. And this is actually not what I wanted to stay on for as long.
No, you're good. I think it's really neat. It's needed. That's a missing piece in a lot of conversations that are happening around indie artists. We don't talk about how to manage your money properly. They tell you all the cool stuff. The back end is what. Yeah. So that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was the pain of having to go through what we went through that got me to
be like that.
Yeah. Hiring our financial coach. We had a financial advisor that was advising us like, hey, you might want to like sell, one of the houses and stuff like that, or something like this to get to a place. And we were just like, we want to, wait. Cause we were just very much, attached to that. And it was a bit of that identity too. Like, we own property, some kind of stuff. But
right, for sure.
It just, it came to a point where it wasn't serving us in the way that we had. Maybe it did initially. And I even talk about later on how it did end up serving us. But But we were talking with her, and she actually alley-ooped me over to a financial coach who could help us like really understand and figure out how to manage the now. Because financial advisors are going to help you on the future stuff. You know, financial coach is going to help you in your day-to-day, like what you need to be focused on right now. And that helped us unlock. And he was the one that kind of helped me understand the profit first model. And I was like, dog, I wish I'd have understood this early on, because I'd have saved myself a lot of headache. But certain things you just aren't ready for until you're ready for it.
And you don't know it. You got to learn it in real time. Yeah.
Yep. And then so that got us to the one place, and then scaffolded us to being able to have like a business, consultant that we work with that helps us now, like vision cast with the business